Weapons hot and one-liners at the ready, recruits. This ain't just some summer blockbuster vacation. This is the real deal. You've been chosen as part of an elite task force for the month of action. Now when those bullets start to fly and everything around you is up in flames, don't you lose your nerve. Remember who you are. You're the toughest, craziest, most resourceful sons of bitches to ever lace them up. We don't wait for backup and we damn sure don't retreat. Now strap your asses in and get ready for the drop. Oh, and one more thing. Before you pull that trigger, tell them John Mortis sent you.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bucket of Chum, the Shark Movie Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Captain Steve, and it is episode 3 of the month of action. And this week we are taking a look at Dark Tide from 2012, directed by John Stockwell. Now, you might recognize the name John Stockwell because he's also directed some other aquatic movies like Into the Blue, that surfing movie from like the early 2000s with Michelle Rodriguez and others. I don't remember much about it. I know that I watched it quite a few times when I was younger. I was younger, so it was probably just the girls in bikinis, which was the only reason I was watching it. It's about surfers. It's kind of neat. He also did Blue Crush with Jessica Alba and Paul Walker. But some of you might know him from Top Gun. He played Cougar. And I believe he's the one at like the beginning of the movie that kind of freaks out, then ends up like leaving the Navy or whatever because he can't handle it or some shit. But he also played Dennis in Christine, which is like the other main character besides Arnie. So I thought that was pretty cool. I had no idea that he directed these movies, and I had no idea he was directing at all, to be honest. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool and kind of fits in with the theme for Month of Action. And speaking of Month of Action, there are a ton of other creators doing the Month of Action with Give Me Back My Action and Horror Movies /B Action. They're all listed down below, so make sure you go check out all those other podcasts that are participating. It's been a really great month. A lot of podcasts and creators have done some really good reviews and other content and whatnot. So again, check all those links out down below and make sure you give them a listen and maybe consider giving them a review. And if you're not going to give them a review, you can give me a review wherever it is you get podcasts. You can like and subscribe the YouTube channel. It really helps the podcast out, and I would just greatly appreciate it. But now let's get into the Letterboxd plot synopsis. In Shark Alley, courage runs deep. A traumatized shark expert must battle her own fears to lead a thrill-seeking businessman on a dive into a dangerous section of water known as Shark Alley. It has an average rating of 2 stars on Letterboxd, so right about where we usually land with all of these movies. As far as poster expectations go, I saw this movie a long time ago. I remembered absolutely nothing about it going into this rewatch. But the poster is Halle Berry in a bikini. Sold. There's a shark fin in the water. It's kind of like a floating head thing, like she's above the water, and there's a shark fin down below. Pretty basic, like 2012 movie poster. Nothing super exciting. But just looking at the poster, I'm like, I kind of expect this plot to be kind of dumb. I'm hoping there's some good CGI in this. I mean, again, it's 2012, so as good as it could be for back then. Or just an actual mix of like shark stock footage or real footage they shot for the movie or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting from this movie. I'm not expecting it to like blow my mind by any means. I'm kind of just expecting like your typical sea adventure movie. So that's what I'm kind of expecting going into this. And before we get into the plot of this movie, if you want to support the podcast in another way, besides liking and subscribing and all that nonsense, you can go to patreon.com/bucketofchum. Each month I'm doing an exclusive episode over there. This month we're taking a look at Mission of the Shark, because last week we just did USS Indianapolis with Derek from Bad Movies, Worst People. So I'm taking a look at a different movie about the same story, basically. So that's going to be over on Patreon. Last month we took a look at Blades, which is a Jaws ripoff about a killer lawnmower. So there's all kinds of great stuff going on over there. So if you want to support the podcast, it's only like $2 or $3 a month. But yeah, it would be greatly appreciated. But if not, like I said, like, subscribe, leave a review, all those things. That would be awesome. But enough about that. Let's get my swordfish out and let's dive in. See, the joke there, I'm going to explain it. It's not going to be funny now, but the joke is that Halle Berry was in a movie called Swordfish with Hugh Jackman and John Travolta, I believe. She does get nude in that movie. Doesn't in this one. Just use that information however you would like. So at the beginning of this movie, we start off with Halle Berry's character, Kate, her husband, Jeff, played by Olivier Martinez. Apparently they started dating after this movie or something like that, so they actually became like a real couple afterwards. There's your fun trivia fact for the movie if you care. They're also there with Tommy, who is like kind of their mechanic slash like driver of the boat, and Timba, who is also like a shark expert that swims with Kate. And so they're just filming like a little instructional video talking about what they do and talking about sharks and all of that. And we know Kate is very experienced, and she talks about how like really getting to know the sharks, and the only way to do that is to be swimming outside of the cages. So that's kind of what she does. She's a free diver basically. So after we get all these intros, Kate and Timba finally get into the water after they've chummed the water and they find a shark that they really want to swim with. So they start filming underwater. Jeff is filming with the camera, and then Kate and Timba are kind of like, playing with the sharks or whatever. And then Timba grabs the tail fin of a shark at one point, and it does not care for this at all. And it turns around and it bites him, and he starts bleeding out everywhere. So Kate and Jeff try to save him, but eventually he's grabbed by the shark again by a second time and taken away. And it looked like they used a lot of real sharks in this scene. If there was some CG sharks, the water is like murky and bloody enough where you don't really notice it that much. So I kind of appreciated what they did here with this. It was kind of a good way of doing it. Kind of brings you into the movie right away. But yeah, we get back on the boat with Kate, and she is traumatized by all of this, obviously. And then it's 1 year later. So Kate meets Zuki at the place that she works. It's like a marine boat tour business, so they take people out on the boat, show them water and shit like that. And obviously she used to do like shark and cage diving, but she doesn't do that sort of thing anymore after this incident, clearly. Right before she got there, we see Zuki turning away a couple just for this. They were looking for like a shark diving thing, and they're like, no, we don't do this anymore, so blah, blah, blah. We also learn that the business isn't doing well. Kate has taken out like a second mortgage on her house to try and like keep her boat because the bank is going to come for it or something like that. So yeah, business isn't doing great since she stopped the shark diving thing. But she goes to the boat and she's getting ready to do one of her tours when Jeff just shows up out of nowhere. They haven't talked for a year, apparently, but he just hops right on the boat to do this tour. And so they do their tour thing or whatever, and then after that, the boat is brought out of the water for repairs because it's kind of like falling apart or something. And then Jeff questions her about making videos of sharks together because this is what they used to do. And then they start to argue about their marriage, and fucking who cares? And Kate keeps blaming herself for like what happened before, obviously. She storms off, but Jeff says he's heard about the bank coming after the boat, so he offers to help her. And it's basically a job offer. So he puts his phone number in her phone and says, like, I have a client that wants to meet with you. You just have to take him diving or blah, blah, blah. And then, everything will be fine. So Tommy kind of urges her to do this since they need the money to, like, keep the business afloat and, like, fix the boat and whatnot. And then, so Zuki and Tommy argue with her back and forth about this for a while. Like, yeah, we need the money. The business is going to fail if we don't do this. So then Kate agrees to meet with Jeff and his potential client, who is Brady, and his son, Luke. So Brady and Luke want to dive with great white sharks. And she tries to, like, deter them to, like, a different cage diving business because she doesn't do this anymore. But Brady wants to go outside the cage, and there's nobody else that's really doing this around here. And I think this takes place in South Africa, and I think they shot on location in South Africa as well, where there are a lot of, like, great white shark sightings and things like that. And then while they're all talking, we learn that, like, Luke doesn't really want to do any of this at all, but Brady's kind of being a dick about it. He's like, yeah, you gotta be a man and do this and blah, blah, blah. Because he's living here with his mother, don't really have anybody to, like, teach him the ways of a man. He doesn't say those words, but that's kind of like the fucking attitude that he's giving. I already don't like him. I hope he dies a horrible fucking death because he's a piece of shit so far. And then he also points out that, like, Luke has been living here for a while and he's never actually seen a shark, so Brady wants to change that. Good for you, Brady. And he offers her 100,000 euros for the dive. And he tries to talk a big game and, like, he trusts her to put him in the water with the shark and all that, and it'll be fine. But she says it's mating season, it's not the right time of year, just coming up with excuses so she doesn't have to do this because she doesn't really want to. But Brady says like he'll pay her up front, but she still doesn't want to do it. And then Jeff sends Brady a text message on his phone that says, just agree to go on the tour and I'll convince her or whatever to, do the shark dive. So basically just agree to go on the boat. So they kind of compromise, or so she thinks. And it's like, yeah, I'll take you out on the boat. You can go in the cage. And if I feel it's safe enough for you to get out of the water, then you can. But if I don't, then you're not doing it. So they kind of all agree on this. But again, Jeff sent that text message saying like, oh no, I'll just convince her to do it. So it's fine. Just take the tour. So Brady is a rich douche and Jeff's kind of a cunt. So yeah. So then after the meeting, they go for a walk and they kind of just like retell us everything that we just saw, that, she's agreeing to take the money and do this and that. I'm like, why do we didn't need this scene? Because it's just Jeff and Kate walking together. I'm like, you're literally just saying the same things you just said at the fucking dinner table. So we didn't really need this. I don't know why this was here. But anyways, it's the next day, I'm assuming. This movie jumps to like the next day or the day after or something like that, and it feels like there's like no transitions, like we just hard cut and we're just supposed to assume that it's the next day or something. But I'm assuming it's the next day. Brady and Luke arrive at the marina and meet Kate, and she tells them that if they do get out of the cage, they're free diving, so don't bring your oxygen tank. So they leave their oxygen tanks on the car, or in the car that they came in. So Brady lights up a smoke, and Kate tells him, like, no, you're not smoking on my boat. And he's like, oh, well, I paid for this. Oh, blah, I'm a big businessman. And he eventually puts it out. She convinces him to, but he's just being a douchebag about it the whole fucking time. So they get out on the water, they set anchor, they start chumming. They're chumming, but it doesn't look like they're throwing blood in the water. Like, it looks like they're just scooping up water and throwing it in the water, which is very confusing. Like, the only way we know that they're chumming is because Luke asks Tommy what he's doing. So that's the only reason we know. I just thought it was weird that they didn't have, like, a red liquid or something to throw in the water. It was just very strange to me. And then Jeff kind of takes an interest in Luke because Luke wants to become a photographer. So he's playing with a camera and Jeff takes a look at it and he's asking him questions about it. And then Brady comes up and basically just starts harassing the fucking kid. He's like, oh, do you want to be the one kicking the goal in the net, or do you want to be the one taking the picture of it? I'm like, clearly he wants to be the one taking the fucking picture of it, and there's nothing wrong with that, you fucking dick. Like, I don't understand this fucking rich guy fucking bullshit, but and like, dude, he's your fucking son. Because right after this, he's like, oh yeah, that's because he's all spoiled and he always got everything he wanted when he was growing up. And I'm like, so you're a shitty parent. You're blaming your kid for not wanting to do sports because you spoiled him. I'm like, this doesn't even make any fucking sense. Like, oh my god, I hate Brady so fucking much. And right after this, he tells Jeff, he calls Jeff a frog prince because Jeff is French. And Jeff does not like this, and he gets all up in Brady's face about it, and Brady, like, kind of backs off a little bit and kind of puts him in his place a bit, too. And then Jeff talks to Luke about his dad, like, being a dick and all of that, and it's just like, yeah, he's like, yeah, this is, like, a good day for him. He's usually worse. I'm like, cool. What a happy and fun relationship that sounds like. And then Tommy starts tapping on a lure line, and he shows, like, Luke how to do this and gets him to do it, and they're using it to attract the sharks, basically. And then, meanwhile, Jeff and Kate are catching up on the top of the boat, and then Jeff tries to kiss her, but she's not into it, and he's not even wearing his ring anymore, but neither is she. So just a dumb, forced, romantic plot we don't need in this movie, because I feel like it's not explored in a good enough way, and we'll kind of see that a little bit later on. But anyways, a shark eventually shows up, thank God. That's kind of what we're fucking here for. And so they start filming, and then it feels like they're, like, actually interacting with a real shark, too. Like, they put their hands in the water and touch the fin and all that. I feel like they're actually interacting with real sharks. So this all looked pretty good. This was cool so far. And Kate says it's a good one, so they all gear up, get ready. But Kate obviously seems hesitant, and Jeff tries to comfort her. So she gets in the water. Jeff follows her shortly after, and then Luke and Brady are in the cage, helped by Tommy. And then Kate free dives, checks the area out as a bunch of seals, like, swim around her. And then some of the seals, like, rapid swimming and, like, biting or whatever, kind of send her into, like, a little bit of a panic attack, and she starts having, like, a bit of a flashback to, like, a year ago. But she keeps going. she checks on Brady and Luke in the cage and signals for them to, like, keep an eye out and, you know, keep an eye on her or whatever, too. But after a while, she gets back in the boat and has the cage brought up since the shark is, like, kind of swam away. And, of course, Brady's all pissed off, but she's like, yeah, I can't, like, force the shark to stay. Like, we can attract them, but if they swim off, then, like, they swim off. Like, what the fuck do you want me to do about this? But, of course, Brady's like, I wanted more shark action. I wanted to... Like, shut the fuck up, Brady. Good God. He just seems like... Remember the Titan? That fucking submarine that imploded because of rich douchebags? This feels like the same thing, because on the Titan, there was a, like, billionaire or millionaire and his stepson. And his stepson didn't want to go. For obvious fucking reasons, probably, and he forced him to go. And this is, like, literally the same fucking thing. Like, Brady has brought Luke to this whole situation that he does not want to be a part of, and he's like, no, you're going, because we're going to make a man out of you. Like, oh, fuck off, man. This is so stupid. It's stupid, but it's also realistic, apparently. So, I mean, it has that going for it. I mean, it's about 12 years later. Or this is like a premonition, almost. Crazy. But later on, a shark does finally show up, so they're getting ready to get back in the water again. And this is where Brady and Luke argue. And Luke, like, again, doesn't want to get back in the cage because he's scared. And he tells Brady he doesn't, like, want to because he's scared. And Brady is just, like, being a total asshole. And Luke says, like, you don't need to be an asshole to impress anyone. Like, it's just not going to work here. And then we learn that, like, Brady has cancer or something. And he also has 7 kids from 3 different wives. So he's just a regular, like, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos fucking twat piece of shit. Now he's like, oh, I'm dying now, so I'm gonna, like, try and be a good dad by being a fucking cunt all the time. Whoop-de-fucking-do, Brady. Thank you so much. Not that I'm triggered by any of this, of course. It's, you know, just commentary. But anyways, after all that, Brady starts fighting with Luke and trying to force him into the fucking cage. And Jeff pushes Brady off of him, knocks him over, and then Brady, like, kind of calms down, and he's like, oh, hey, I told you if I couldn't smoke, I was going to get all, like, testy or whatever. And I'm like, oh, no, you're just an asshole. Stop blaming the smoking. Like, you're a fucking twat. But then he finally agrees to, like, not have Luke go in the cage, so Brady gets into the cage by himself, and then this shark swims around them for a while without incident, and Kate even hitches a ride on its fin, like, she's holding on to it while it swims. And then Brady gets frustrated with not being able to, like, get closer to the shark himself. So he just lets himself out of the cage, and he's like, yeah, this seems like a good idea. And then he tries to grab the shark's tail fin, and it's about to turn around and be like, fuck you, dude. And I was like, yes, please, just eat this man in half, for fuck's sakes. But then Kate comes along and saves the day, redirects the shark. She gets Brady back into the cage. Then they get back on the boat, bring the cage back up. And when they finally get out of the water, Brady is like, why are you so upset? I paid. If I want to get out of the cage, I'll get out of the cage. And then he tells Kate that Jeff assured him he'd be able to get out of the water and he would make it happen, and then shows her the text message that Jeff had sent. Again, I really hope Brady dies here. So then Jeff follows Kate into the cabin and asks, like, oh, why are you freaking out? And it's like, maybe because you're a fucking idiot? And then she yells at him to stop using her to make money, and this turns into a bigger argument, and then he says he loves her, and blah, 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 blah. And then the argument gets, like, really heated, and Jeff starts, like, throwing shit around everywhere, and then he says, like, oh, well, then we should just go back. We should just go back, and if we go back, you won't have to see me anymore. And then she gets sad, and I'm just like, why? This guy sucks. And then she gets angry, and then she insists that they go and find sharks. She's like, fine, you want to fucking see sharks? I'll go take you to see some fucking sharks. So she reels the cage in, like, very angrily, and then Brady asks if they're going home, and she's like, no, you want to see sharks? I'm going to show you. And then she plans on taking them to Shark Alley, and she is very angry and sarcastic about all of this. It's pretty fucking great. I will say Halle Berry's performance in this movie is fucking fantastic. She's really good. Actually, I'll say for the most part, the performances in the movie are pretty decent. There's just, so far, not really a whole lot happening in the movie. It's very basic so far. So as they're driving along, Jeff is steering, but then the steering wheel gets stuck, and he asks, like, Tommy to take a look at, like, what's going on. And then basically the steering's fucked. So they need to like steer manually for a bit. So they put these like giant rods into the engine bay and start steering the boat like that. They're also in pretty shallow water. And I'm like, I know your steering's fucked and they're acting like this is a big deal and dangerous. I'm like, could you not just like slow down? I mean, I know you're probably worried about bashing into rocks, but like you're also going pretty fast. Like maybe just ease off the throttle a little bit because that's not broken. It's just your steering. So I don't know what we're doing here. But after a while, they come into like stormy and choppy weather, and Brady tells some story to Kate about someone he lost. I don't think she cares very much, and neither do I. Fuck Brady. When he leaves, she then apologizes to Jeff, and I'm like, okay, why? And like this isn't Jeff's. I'm like, sorry, this isn't Kate's fault at all. Like this is all Jeff's fault. Like he's the one being a twat here. Why is she apologizing? That makes no fucking sense. But they finally reach their destination, and the water is all choppy as hell, and Brady asks if they're really going in the water, and she's like, yeah, you want to show your courage, don't you? Well, fucking let's go, let's do this. But he seems very nervous about this, because the water is, like, choppy as fuck, and, like, there's a big storm coming in, basically, and now he's starting to act scared. But he eventually does get into the cage, but she does give him like a quick pep talk, and he wants to go in the cage first to see if it's safe at first, and then like Luke and Kate kind of start like chirping him or whatever, like, yeah, Mr. Brave ain't so fucking brave now. But eventually Kate gets in the water, and there's a bunch of sharks swimming around, so this really is like Shark Alley because they're fucking everywhere. So they let Brady get in the cage first, and of course Jeff is out there also filming. And this is freakier because the water is like much darker and kind of murkier because like it's like overcast, cloudy, and kind of stormy. And then like when the boat sets its anchor down, the tide's like forcing the boat back and forth, so it's not even really staying in one spot. So it's also like kicking up more dirt and whatnot, making it a little bit more murky and like kind of scarier looking too. And then, like, Tommy notices that, like, the boat's not really sitting still, so he tries to reel the cage in, but then it gets stuck. So he gets Luke to help him, like, try and fix some shit. And then down below, Kate has given Brady the signal to come out of the cage. But then the latch is stuck, so he can't get out. And then the, like, winch or something above breaks, and so the cage starts sinking to the bottom. Very much, like, 47 meters down. But we didn't make a whole movie about it. And then Jeff goes down, he gives Brady some air to, like, try and save him or whatever. But then up above, the boat capsizes and tips over. Tommy manages to make his way to the top of the capsized boat and starts, like, yelling for help. And then Zuki, we go back to Zuki for a little bit at the marine business, and she's, like, contacting the Coast Guard saying, like, yeah, they're not back yet, this isn't normal, like, they should be here, you need to go send somebody to go and look for them, because she knows something is wrong. But we go back out to the water. They've gotten Brady out of the cage now. They start bringing him up to the surface. And then Jeff and Kate grab some rope so like they can all hold on to it together, I'm guessing. I don't know. They're just grabbing kind of supplies to try and survive, I guess. And of course, this whole time, like, there's just sharks swimming around them. And then Kate dives down to try and get this, like, emergency life raft because the boat is sinking. Like, it's staying afloat for a little bit, but it is slowly going down. And then Brady finds Luke. I guess he's been knocked out, and so he brings him back to the rest of the group. But while they were doing this, Jeff also went to help Brady out, because Brady gets, like, tired, like, halfway back to bringing Luke back. And so Tommy is just there, like, kind of tied up to the top of this boat, and then a shark comes and, like, bites his fucking legs off. We don't see a whole lot here, but I mean, the impact of the scene is still pretty good, though, because it's, like, very dark and stormy, and then, like, he just kind of comes out of nowhere, and he's all by himself. I kind of wish they had spent a little bit more time on this, but it is okay. And again, it's probably, like, real footage of sharks mixed in with, like, maybe some CGI, but it's really dark and murky, so you can't really tell it's CGI. So that's fine. It still looks pretty good. It's not horrible. But again, so far in this movie, there hasn't really been a whole lot that happens. So, like, when this does happen, it's like, oh, cool, we're finally going to start, like, getting some shit going here. And we sort of do. So, as I mentioned, Brady gets tired, like, halfway back to the boat, bringing Luke back. So, Jeff helps him out. He brings Luke back to the boat. But while Brady is still out there, this fucking shark just, like, breaches the water and eats Brady, basically. So, he finally fucking dies. And I do not feel sorry for him. I'm like, you are a piece of shit. You deserve to die since, like, the beginning of this movie. I don't even care if you have fucking cancer. You're an asshole. So, yeah, Brady's dead. I'm very happy about this. And then Jeff finally notices that Tommy is hurt, and then he kind of like slips him out of his ropes, and then like Tommy's body just starts sinking to the bottom. Kate has found the life raft, but the sharks have started to like swim around her, and it looks like they're getting ready to attack. And she manages to like redirect one and chase after the raft container as it starts to sink. She inflates it, returns to the surface, and gets in the raft. I thought there was going to be more shark stuff here, but she like kind of just redirects one. And again, it's kind of cool. We see the shark like circling around her, like trying to get closer and whatnot. So it's a little bit ominous. It's kind of cool, but like I think I'm a little bit jaded by some of the more ridiculous movies I've seen because I just want more ridiculousness. So some of these more realistic things don't really hit me quite the same, but I don't know, that might just be me. But this does also have a lower rating, so I think there's probably a few other people that agree with me. But then shortly after that, Luke and Jeff join her on the raft. We fade to black, and then it's morning. A helicopter has found them. They're safe. We just kind of see the helicopter like find the raft, and then we just like fade out again. And then we get some voiceover of Kate saying how much she loves sharks, and I guess it's like a year later, maybe. We don't really have any title cards to tell us that, but I think it's somewhat in her narration. And they're in Australia now. And this is all like underwater stuff. We're just seeing them like kind of going after some sharks and filming stuff. So they're kind of just like back to their old life again. But yeah, I guess she's overcome her fear and is still shark diving. And credits roll. That's fucking it. That's all we get. So, yeah, story-wise, this movie's okay. It's not exciting. I wouldn't even necessarily call it an action movie. Sorry for the month of action. I tried. But it's categorized as, like, part action movie, and I can kind of see that. There's, like, a bit of action, but not really a lot. It's definitely more of, like, a drama-adventure movie. As I said, the acting was fine. I really didn't have any problem with any of the actors in this movie. They all did a fantastic job for kind of what they had to work with, I guess. I just didn't really care for a lot of the characters, really. Like, Brady is an asshole. Jeff sucks. I feel bad for Tommy. Tommy and Luke and Kate were, like, the only ones I cared about. But, like, even Kate kind of like doesn't have like a whole like redemption arc. Like they tried to give Brady this redemption arc where he goes and like tries to save Luke and then he's eaten by the shark. But then like you get Kate who's apologizing to Jeff after they get into an argument where I'm like, no, all of your points were fucking valid. Like I don't know why you're apologizing to fucking Jeff. Like Jeff sucks. Jeff sucks so hard. I wish Jeff had also died, but he doesn't, unfortunately. And yeah, a lot of this is like kind of bottom heavy. So like the last 20 minutes of the movie is where we get a lot of our action sequences, which was decent. I liked the feeling of peril and like the dark water with like this sinister presence of the sharks, sort of. And again, this isn't your typical shark movie where it's like the sharks are the enemy. It's just they're more of an obstacle. But it's just, I've seen movies use the sharks as an obstacle in a much better way. Like Dangerous Animals, a more recent movie that came out, which uses the idea of using sharks as being dangerous in a much more interesting way. I do appreciate that they made the sharks realistic in this. Like, they're not just eating anything that comes near them. I mean, there's a couple times, like, when it goes after Tommy, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because he's just kind of sitting there on the side of the boat, so it doesn't make any sense for the shark to go after him. But again, that's just like kind of one of the dramatic things they add to this movie. But yeah, I was glad that Brady died. And as I was writing the notes, the end credits were rolling. And then towards the end of the credits, we get like a lot of shark facts. We get things like many shark species face extinction. They are essential for a healthy ocean. And then some tips on how you can help, like not eating shark fin soup, choosing sustainable seafood, and so on. So I like that they did that, where it's like kind of the antithesis of Jaws, where like everybody was going out killing sharks after this. And this, they're like, hey, like sharks are okay. They're not as dangerous as like movies portray them to be and whatnot. It would have been cooler if we'd seen this like earlier, like right after the movie ends, before the credits start rolling, you kind of list this. I think that would have been way more effective, because having it at the nobody sits through the fucking credits, especially in 2012. Like, the only time you're sitting through credits is like for a Marvel or DC movie or some shit. Like, most of the time you're not sitting through the credits. I will sometimes, but sometimes when I'm in the theater, I just feel bad for like the theater staff that have to come in and clean up all the shit that all the lazy people couldn't pick up, like all their popcorn and garbage and shit. So I try to leave, unless it's, again, a Marvel movie and I know there's going to be an end credit scene. But yeah, I think this would have been way more effective if they had brought this fucking earlier in the movie. But it is something, so I will give them bonus points for that. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give this a 2 stars. It's just okay. There's definitely an audience for this sort of movie. Like, it's not violent. I appreciate them taking a stab at making a shark movie realistic, but unfortunately it doesn't really make for super exciting filmmaking. But I also like that they used real sharks in like 90% of the shots, and they used it pretty well. So yeah, I think 2 stars is fair. It's just not entirely for me, but it's not, and it's not terrible. And Halle Berry in bikini. So, I mean, that's kind of a win. And you don't have to sit through Die Another Day. So I call that a win. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys this week. You know you can check me out on all the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Slasher, all at Bucket of Chum or at Bucket of Chum Podcast. And again, if you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/Bucket of Chum. But I'll see you guys next time for even more Bucket of Chum.
That was one hell of an action sequence, soldier. I haven't seen shooting like that since the Battle of New Hope. The month of action couldn't have done it without you. Mission accomplished.